I really wanted to check out this video because TBC had always had... I mean, wait. No, wait, let me rephrase. I wanted to watch this video because TBC always had that problem of tank shortage. And by always, I don't mean back in the good old days because I did not play back in the day. I was a goddamn kid. But whenever I played TBC Classic for the first time as a Retribution Paladin, because I don't know what I was thinking, I've encountered a serious issue, and that was waiting 2 hours for a tank. Now, it did not take me by surprise. Everyone and their mothers playing DPS. Why? Because that's retail WoW mentality. Now, by the way, before you say, hey, you played Retribution Paladin instead of Protection, that's only because I played with a friend that also chose a Paladin, and he wanted to tank. So I thought it was stupid to just choose 2 tanks. Now, my friend ended up quitting while I was remaining as a Retribution Paladin, so I didn't want to switch at the end game. I was like, okay, whatever, I already committed, and I already enjoy doing seal switching, so it turns out, like, I just was stuck as a Retribution Paladin. I didn't really want to reroll that. So, with that in mind, let's see if anything changed. Spoilers, it hadn't.
Good luck getting groups as a Fury Warrior. That's something I heard before I even hit level 70 in TBC Anniversary. And honestly, the more I've played, the more I realize there's actually a huge stigma against certain classes in TBC. People look at the class and instantly think, why bring a warrior when I could bring a warlock, hunter, mage, or literally any other class with more.
So facts. Imagine being Retribution Paladin. I've been literally kicked numerous times from various groups just for being a Retribution Paladin. It's that simple. I've been ostracized from the entire community for taking 5 minutes longer to finish a dungeon. Great. Truly impeccable.
Or utility, and it doesn't even stop
I
there.
love World of
Even
Warcraft.
tanks seem to be disappearing. You sit and looking for group for 30 minutes trying to find a tank for a heroic. Meanwhile, the second a paladin tank types LFG, they get 15 whispers instantly, which has led to a huge discussion. Should Blizzard actually step in and make changes, or should they just let the TBC meta play out naturally? Now, one thing I've noticed in TBC is that players are way more...
I think Blizzard should just make Classic Plus and that's it. It would be the easiest solution, and clearly, they're working on it. They just should not be allowed to make the same mistakes again.
More meta-focused than they were back in 2021's iteration of TBC, even more so than 2007 for this matter. People were less knowledgeable about the game back then, and people just brought whoever was available. But now everybody knows optimal comps, everybody watches tier lists, everybody looks at logs, everybody wants the smoothest possible heroic run, and unfortunately, warriors are one of the classes getting hit hardest by that mentality, especially
because it's a dumb retail mentality. Like, homie, this game is over 2 decades old. Like, what are we doing here? The entire parsing meta, the entire, oh, we gotta do it as quick as possible because there's some arbitrary number that goes up. It's so idiotic, and only true retail enjoyers can bring that crap into Classic. We actually had a pretty smooth launch in the first iteration of Vanilla World of Warcraft when it re-released for the first time. And people weren't like this. I know, I was there. It only really started towards the end of Classic, and in TBC it was way more apparent because the toxicity has run rampant. It just, like, I don't know what you can do. Like, ban retail players? If you own a copy of Retail World of Warcraft, I think you should be prohibited from playing Classic. That's the solution. Dude, I literally just came with it on the spot. We should ban retail Andes from playing our game. Yeah, perfect solution, of course.
Especially Fury Warriors. Because when players are building dungeon groups, they are...
Mofo's really min-maxing 20-year-old dungeons and raids. I know. It's crazy. And they actually get mad about that too. There are some serious rage compilation of this game you would not believe. They're not from 20 years ago. They're from yesterday.
Aren't asking, can this class clear the content? They're asking what class...
Every class can clear the content.
And the easiest, and that's where the stigma starts. Because Fury Warriors don't really bring the same utility other classes bring. Warlocks bring insane AoE, summons, fears, hunters bring traps and misdirect, mages bring a lot of crowd control, they also bring water, shamans bring bloodlust, rogues bring interrupts and control. Meanwhile, Fury Warriors are mostly seen as the DPS that has no utility, mostly just zug. So people would immediately assume, why would I take a warrior? And the crazy
Yeah,
part
and I just want you guys to understand that Retribution Paladin is like 10 times worse.
is, even before hitting 70, I had viewers in stream telling me, good luck finding groups, good luck completing your attunements. That's how deep this perception already is running in the community. I even have people asking me in streams, should I play warrior? And I always tell everybody this, that you should be able to play whatever class that you want. It's World of Warcraft, it's an MMO, you're supposed to get lost in fantasy. You shouldn't let meta dictate whether or not you have fun, but
Does Arms Warrior have utility? If you bring Arms Warrior to a dungeon, you're getting permabanned.
the reality is, this is the third iteration of TBC. The content is solved. Optimization and efficiency are constantly on people's mind now instead of just playing whatever they feel like. And because of that, you're gonna run into situations where groups don't want to take you because you play a specific class. And honestly, it gets even worse when it comes to tanks, because trying to find tanks in TBC right now can feel miserable, especially for heroics. You'll see groups sitting there forever looking for one more tank, heroic Mechanar, looking for tank, heroic Shattered Hull, looking for tank, heroic Alcatraz, and nobody joins. Meanwhile, DPS players are stacked everywhere. Honestly, it's gotten so bad that sometimes LFG feels like a ghost town for tanks. You know, I've literally sat there using the Who tab, filtering level 70 paladins, warriors, druids, just spam whispering people, hey, want to tank heroic slave pens. It genuinely starts feeling like a telemarketing job where I'm cold calling other players just to play the game, and half the time the response is, sorry, I'm a different spec, or yeah, I tank, but only for gold. That's why the dungeon scene
That's the
in
one I
TBC
got the
feels
most.
kind of rough right now. And first off, tank gameplay in TBC can feel pretty stressful compared to later expansions. You know, threat matters way more, pulls are dangerous, crowd control matters, one bad pull can wipe the group.
You're dealing with idiots as DPS. That's what he was trying to say here. I don't know why he just didn't say it like that, though.
Instantly, and if something goes wrong, guess who gets blamed? The tank. The tank
Yes.
slightly under avoidance cap, blamed. Tank loses threat to Warlock blasting seed, blamed. Tank pulls too
Yes.
slowly, blamed. And after
Man, maybe us classic and retail players aren't different after all. Maybe deep down, we're all the same.
all that, you're also paying massive repair bills, especially if you're a
problems.
plate tank. There's also a lot of pressure on newer tanks. A lot of gear tanks already have their guilds and routines established, so newer players are trying to step up and fill the void, but then they get hit with constant pressure because their gear isn't good enough yet, which honestly just contributes even more to the tank shortage. I myself even tried tanking heroic Shadow Labs on my warrior with some off pieces from Kara and some resilience pieces from the vendors because no one wanted to tank or wanted a Fury Warrior. And honestly, I struggled hard to the point where it genuinely pushed me away from wanting to tank again. So overall, it does feel like players eventually start avoiding the role altogether just to avoid the harassment. It turns into a lot of people looking at tanking and thinking, why am I doing all this work just to get yelled at? And this is also why you're seeing tanks charge gold for heroic runs, which is, you know, a controversial topic in itself. Some people hate it. Some people think it ruins the social aspect of the game. But if you think about it from the tank's perspective, they're in insanely high demand. They deal with stress. They deal with the repair cost. They deal with the impatient DPS players. Meanwhile,
Yes. They deal with the basement rat dwellers. True. This is the largest issue. Hasn't this been a problem in every MMORPG with Holy Trinity? Yes, but there are levels that are tolerable. I think in retail World of Warcraft, it reached a critical mass. You literally have no tanks whatsoever because it's okay to wait. Let's say if you're a tank and you're waiting like 1 minute for a dungeon group, okay, good, great. But if you're a DPS and you're waiting like 20, 30, even an hour long, like just for a tank, it's too much. It's way too much, right? It's no problem if you need to wait like 10 minutes, 20 minutes. But if you wait for an hour, that's a massive issue. That needs to be fixed. And unfortunately, I don't think there's anything Blizzard can do about it. It's kind of like nature of the community they have cultivated. You can't really backtrack because the community is already there. They're super toxic, they're super narcissistic and like lame losers. They're a bunch of bozos that actually think that making a high number go up makes their, I don't know, their waifus care about them. Like, no, dude, it's still a 2D painting. She won't fall in love with you. Like, just stop.
instantly get groups whenever they want. So tanks start realizing, you know, as few as they are, why not make gold from this? And honestly, that alone shows how bad the tank situation has gotten in TBC, when players would rather pay gold for a tank, or the tank themselves charge gold and, you know, have everybody sit in LFG for another 45 minutes. You know, there's a real problem. And then there's the elephant in the room, prot paladins. Because let's be honest, paladins absolutely dominate TBC heroic dungeons.
Yeah,
It's
they're really
mostly
good there.
comes down to AoE threat. Heroic dungeons in TBC are filled with dangerous trash packs, multiple mobs, caster mobs, constant AoE situations, and paladins handle this so much easier than warriors. Consecration alone makes dungeon tanking feel smoother. Meanwhile, warrior tanks are tab targeting like their life depends on it, trying to hold threat while DPS top the meters. And because players know this, groups naturally lean towards paladin tanks, which then creates another issue in relation to the stigma. Players prefer a paladin tank over a warrior tank. Why struggle harder when I don't have to? That's the mindset a lot of players end up having. This all brings up a big question. Should Blizzard actually make changes to TBC Anniversary? And honestly, I think there's arguments both ways, because part of Classic WoW's identity is class imbalance. Not every class is equal, not every spec is amazing, and some people would argue that changing class identity ruins the authenticity of a classic version.
Well, they already have with Paladin seals. I mean, obviously, you have access to both Seal of Vengeance and Seal of Blood, no matter which race you choose. So, technically, they already have for the sake of balance. Now, would I be willing to turn a blind eye to changes such as this for the sake of having more tanks? I think I would. Personally, for me, I think I would, but I don't think everyone would agree on that.
Of the game. But TBC Anniversary
really
also
depends.
isn't the OG original 2007 or even 2021's iteration of TBC anymore. Players are different, the meta is solved, everything is optimized, and because of that, weaker specs get punished way harder socially than they used to. You know, for me personally, I don't think certain classes need massive changes just to suddenly become OP, but should small quality of life improvements be made to help, especially for tanks? You know, maybe something simple like tank and healers getting reward bags similar to Wrath, where players are rewarded for filling high demand roles. Or should Blizzard do something more drastic, because there's talk in the community about giving warriors and druids stronger threat capabilities to better complete with paladins in heroics? Honestly, something simple like a reward bag alone could massively help the heroic dungeon scene right now.
That's
because
interesting.
At the end
That
of the
can
day,
work,
if
I
nobody
guess.
wants to tank, the entire dungeon ecosystem suffers. But what do you think? Have you noticed class stigma in TBC Anniversary? Do you think certain classes are unfairly judged? Do you think players are just following the meta? You know, what about tanks? Is there actually a tank crisis right now, or are players just exaggerating it? Should Blizzard make changes to help warrior and druid tanks, or should TBC stay exactly how it is? Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this video.
We should remove every single incompetent personnel from Blizzard and actually make like great people in charge again. But that would probably solve everything down the road. As of Classic right now, I don't see any real solution except for like literally rebalancing the game. So it's really just a matter of that. But let's see. Wrath at Piss, easy dungeons. It wasn't really the reward at work. Oh, really? So if that didn't work, yeah, I think balancing is the only way to go about it. Do you think Classic Plus should keep the gameplay of Classic, or should they go anything? No, it should have the newer engine. The old engine, unfortunately, as much as I love it, in terms of like the retro vibes and all of that, it's very, very limited in what can it do. So you can do fun raid mechanics on retail World of War. You can do fun raid mechanics on Classic, but you can do a lot of fun stuff on retail. So I think, yeah, like you definitely need the new engine, not the 1.12 version. You need like the way spicy stuff, but it's the same engine if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Classic is on the newer engine. Yeah, it's like it's on the newer stuff. So obviously you can't, just keep this going. You'd have to run it on the newer engine. But regardless, very great video. First video I watched from this guy. I'm gonna leave a link in the description. You guys can watch it for yourself. Give him a like. It was actually very impressive for such a short video. But yeah, there's definitely a tank crisis. I'm not surprised. It's all really because retail mentality had completely destroyed World of Warcraft.